What's up, Banter fam? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Miles, and wow, what a day we have on the markets. We have Bitcoin absolutely exploding. We have altcoins also breaking out left, right, and center. So in today's show, I want to answer the question that I'm sure is on everyone's lips. Is this pump sustainable? And if it is, what altcoins should we be getting into? How should we be positioning ourselves and playing this rally? So I'm going to go through my chart levels to show you exactly what I'm seeing in terms of the higher time frame stuff, also the shorter time frame coins that I think can have a good chance of running. And then I'm going to go through a coin that I am buying and give you my exact buy plan, as well as looking at two airdrop opportunities, which I think are quite enticing off the back of the Blur airdrop yesterday. So it is going to be an Alpha Pack show as usual. There's tons to talk about. Also at the end, I will be doing a Q&A session to answer any questions you may have, because I'm sure your mind's racing right now, as mine is, with a lot of activity coming back into the market. Just before we get into the Bitcoin chart and talk about what actually happened with Bitcoin last night to cause this massive pump, I just want to point out one thing. This is a narrative space game right now. Narrative trading is really the hot game in town. This is something I've been saying for the past couple of weeks. And we can see this because just by looking at the crypto bubbles, top 100 best performers over the last day, we can see Optimism coming in at 17%, leading the pack. That's obviously running off the back of the L2 narrative. You've got ZK coins like Mina performing extremely well. You've also got liquid staking derivatives like Lido and Frax performing well. So the top performers right now tend to be the ones that have relative strength off the back of very strong trends. So I think being able to identify the trends in the market is super important. This is something that I hope I've been able to help you guys with over the past few weeks, as we've successfully identified a lot of these narratives. But it's also something that I'm going to continue doing going forward in these shows to help position you in the market, but also give some context around, why things are running and why things are performing really well. So it's just interesting to see in the top 100 that there are some strong outperformers, and that is for good reason. So the first question I want to answer is, why did Bitcoin pump last night? Now, it was really, or this morning if you're in Australia. Now, it's really a mix of a few different things. The first thing I want to say is that the market was starting to get a bit euphoric to the downside. There were a lot of bears started to get euphoric on Twitter, and also the short ratio started to increase significantly. So we can see on CoinGlass here that a lot of shorts actually got wrecked. 93% shorts got liquidated for $81 million. And over the last 24 hours, $173 million were liquidated, mostly on the short side. So I think there were shorts starting to pile up. People didn't really trust the pump, didn't respect the pump, and that's one of the reasons why the move to the upside was more explosive. Also, as I said in yesterday's show, off the back of CPI, there was a major divergence between the US 2-year Treasury yield and the Nasdaq and equities, which resulted in an overextension from crypto, and this pump has continued off the back of the CPI. Basically, the market just does not really care about the CPI print. In fact, the market wants any excuse to be bullish right now. And we've been able to see that for quite some time, given the price action of Bitcoin, at least over the last month, being in a bullish continuation pattern. The market wanted an excuse to continue that pattern. So the price action was a major indicator after we got a relatively flat CPI that the market wanted to be bullish. But I think this candle took a lot of people by surprise. And although I said in yesterday's show I was expecting, if we could reclaim key levels, that we'd continue to the upside, I don't think I quite expected the upside to happen this quickly. I was expecting maybe over the next week, we'd gradually climb up. I didn't really expect in just a few hours that we'd get one massive green candle all the way almost up to range highs. But I guess that's how crypto works. It tends to wreck you if you're on the wrong side of it, and it tends to significantly benefit you if you're on the right side of the pump. So you always have to respect the trend in crypto, and there's no reason to trade against the trend. And that's exactly why, if we go into the higher time frame on the daily, the trend is still bullish, and that's why we trade with the trend. We trade narratives in line with how Bitcoin is performing. We bounced off the 200 MA on the daily. We successfully retested as well in confluence with this horizontal range at the 21.5. That was a really strong support to provide the foundations for the next leg up. Then, of course, we did get that massive pump over the last 24 hours to the upside of 13%. Now, Bitcoin, if we do look at the charts, it's approaching range high. Now, this is a very critical zone for Bitcoin to break if you are a bull. And it's also a very, very important level for us to get rejected off if you are a bear. So we're a few percent off making a massive decision. And right now is an extremely important time for Bitcoin and the market as a whole to make its decision. Because if we break out above this range here and retest on the 25, then we're going straight to 28 to 30K in my opinion. Like that is extremely on the cards. The only thing that makes me skeptical of going to 30K is the fact that that's a number that gets chucked around a lot. It's a whole number, which makes me kind of think to an extent that the market would prefer to top out around 28K. That's just my prediction anyway. But still, like a move from 25 to 28 would see altcoins explode. It would see 3-4x's across the top narratives like AI, zk, LSDs would explode. Like all those strong coins we've been talking about over the last couple of weeks, those would be the top performers if Bitcoin had a significant breakout above range high. Now, you also have the chance we do get rejected here, so you have to be a little bit careful longing into resistance because, you know, if we do get rejected, then of course it can be expected for us to come back down to this 23 zone. The only real positive in that case for altcoins would be you can get a scenario where Bitcoin just kind of bounces like this and kind of chops up and down, but altcoins actually outperform during that period. Because that's where liquidity wants to flow. So consolidation is okay for Bitcoin because that shows the market is comfortable. What you don't want for Bitcoin is choppiness in terms of having huge wicks to the downside like this and then back up and then huge wicks to the downside because that's when the market tends to panic. And during times of panic, people don't want to be in altcoins. But when things are looking good, we have nice setups. We have consolidation. Even if that is below major resistance, at least that gives you a bit of breathing room from the altcoin trader's perspective to be able to trade alts freely without having to panic too much. The really interesting thing about this pump, though, was the fact that Bitcoin actually led this pump. So if we look at Bitcoin dominance, we can see Bitcoin dominance absolutely exploded to the upside to the 44% region. And a lot of alts actually lost strength versus Bitcoin. So for the first time in a while, this was actually a Bitcoin-led pump. We've seen other major pumps in the market result in Bitcoin losing steam. Like at the start of February, look at what Bitcoin dominance did here. It absolutely tanked while alts were ripping. And then we had other periods of extension from the altcoins and Ethereum where Bitcoin dominance absolutely tanked. Well, this is, in stark contrast to those scenarios where the market is ripping, but Bitcoin is actually leading the pump. And this is a very good sign. It's actually a healthy sign for the market because what it means is that you're getting more liquidity, outside liquidity, coming into the market and filtering into the large caps. Now, what tends to happen with the rotation game is you get funds going into the large caps like Bitcoin and ETH, and then you see a rotation into the mid caps, the small caps, and then lastly, the real micro caps start to explode. And the fact we're kind of getting a resetting of the cycle here with a Bitcoin pump, a liquidity injection, and then also a dominance rise as well in tandem with the Bitcoin rise means that we're setting up almost for a new mini cycle, at least in the short term. Now, the duration of this cycle, I don't know how long it's going to play out. Like, I'm not a fortune teller. It could be a couple days. It could be a couple weeks. It could be a couple months for all I know. But all I know is that this is a healthy sign, and we do have to respect the indicators that we are getting on a technical front right now, which are validating this thesis. Now, Ethereum, I do want to take a look at it because it does lead the altcoins as well. This is approaching resistance similarly to Bitcoin, but Ethereum is also in a similar boat to Bitcoin where, you've got range highs quite a long way away. And then if you go into the daily, we can see there's huge upside if you do break through this range. So of course you do have this 2000 level, which is key for Ethereum, but you flip this short-term level and the move from 1700 to 2000 can be quite quick. But Ethereum is still not showing strength versus Bitcoin. It's actually been a bit of a lagging coin, and there's a reason for why that's the case. I want to get into that in the second half of this show when we discuss L2s and all that sort of stuff as well. So I would keep my eye on Ethereum just in terms of validating where the altcoin market sits, but right now really all eyes on Bitcoin being the front runner of this trend. And we can see right now we're actually pushing like live on stream to 25K. So if we go into the hourly chart, we can see we've just printed a very green hourly candle. It almost looks like today, and maybe even during this show, we're going to get close to making a decision here at range high at 25K, what move we make. So this is super important. I would have I'm going to have my eyes glued to the screen over the next 24 hours to see how we react in this zone. Because there could be massive opportunities from select altcoins if we break, and if we reject, there also could be opportunities to take advantage of the short side. So we get into those scenarios later in the show as well. A narrative I quickly want to touch on is the ZK rollup stuff before we get into the Blur airdrop and some of the opportunities I'm seeing in that ecosystem. ZK rollups have been super hot. I talked about this on a thread on February 2nd, and then I also discussed this last week in the show, and then I touched on it again yesterday, how ZK, if the market continues to be strong, this is still a narrative that can exhibit relative strength, and it's still a narrative that is preferred by the market. And we can see this basically across the entire board with the price action of coins, that the ZK coins are often running harder than the other coins in the market. You have OP, which is an L2 that performs strongly. You have Mina, which is a ZK coin that performs strongly. And also MATIC right now is performing extremely strongly as well. So ZK is the hot narrative in town. And this is one that if Bitcoin breaks out, I'm going to continue to increase my exposure to ZK products just because I think they can continue to outperform, just like the other ones like LSDs and AI as well. I think ZK has upside in that scenario. Now, and I have been talking about that for a while, so you should be well positioned. If you're not, you are going to have to wait for a pullback on a lot of these ZK projects. But there is one, which is MATIC, that I think you could have an opportunity very, very, very soon to actually get into. And that's because MATIC is actually breaking its range high right now. So what I talked about yesterday on the show was the fact that MATIC had a significant resistance at $1.30. And if it flipped that on the daily into support, there could be an explosion up to the $1.80 to $2 zone ahead of their ZK EVM, which they actually officially announced for the end of Q1. So that is official now that we are getting ZK EVM. But MATIC actually just exploded through its range high, and that was the level that it needed to break. So for me, how I am playing this is a retest of this zone at $1.30. I'm going long, and then I'm going to set my stop underneath. So this is a trade that you can actively take and actively look at taking. Now, there's a chance this runs away from us, but the reason why I wouldn't FOMO in now, I mean, you can put 30% of your total position size in now. It's really up to how you trade. The reason I wouldn't FOMO in now is because you've just missed the breakout. So the time to get the first 30% in was on the initial breakout. Then the next one is retest it and confirmation. Because we're kind of in this zone where, as we saw before, it's often possible you get a breakout and then you have a fake out straight back into the range. We literally saw that 2 weeks ago. So lightning may not strike twice, but I certainly don't want to be caught a fool twice. So I wouldn't, not that I tried that range last time. So we do want to wait for a retest here. And if we get it, we can long set our stops below, and that could potentially be one that has good upside. But that's very significant level for MATIC that it is currently breaking, and the price action is very bullish for a lot of these ZK coins. So if you do want to trade MATIC, there's a link in the description to OKX, our official exchange partner. And if you sign up for a link to a new OKX account, you get access to a $10,000 mystery box, which means if you just sign up for an account and deposit $50, whether it can be crypto or fiat, then you get a chance to shake your phone, open a mystery box, and win up to $10,000 worth of crypto. You can win $5, you can win nothing, you can win $100, or you can win up to their max prize reward of $10,000. So if you want to have a bit of fun and open that, you can sign up for a new OKX account. And of course, it's a great place to trade as well if you want to open that MATIC long, or if you want to open any other sort of trade. If you think Bitcoin's a decent short into resistance, that could also be a trade that you can open, but it's up to your outlook as well. Let's get into the next segment of the show now, which is about this Blur airdrop. And I do have a big plan when it comes to Blur and related tokens that I am currently putting into execution mode. And there's also 2 airdrops off the back of Blur, which I believe could potentially be the next Blur airdrop, because the Blur airdrop was massive. If you guys saw it yesterday, people were getting, I mean, one guy got like $1.5 million. Average people, so just retail traders that barely put anything into the ecosystem, were getting 3, 4, 5, 6,000. Some people got 10,000. I think it's safe to say airdrop season's back. And this is something obviously I've been covering since last year in terms of positioning ourselves for new airdrops. But it's more apparent than ever that airdrop season's back, baby. And some of these airdrops are huge. So if you can get yourself into the right ones, there are massive opportunities. And I know not all of you are airdrop hunters, so not all of you will be necessarily interested, but I will give you 2 airdrops at the end of the Blur segment that you can get involved in as well. So what is Blur? Blur is essentially an NFT marketplace. So their whole motto is that they are much, much faster than other alternatives, and they are essentially executing NFT trades faster in order to allow traders more flexibility and just a general better UI. And I see lots of questions coming in. At the end of the show, I'm going to do a Q&A. I know there's lots of questions about this being a fake out and a bull trap and max pain. And I'll answer all of those questions at the end, and we'll have a discussion. But I do want to give you these opportunities first before we get into that. So essentially, their whole thesis is they are the fastest NFT marketplace, and they were backed by Paradigm and a few other big VCs as well. 𝗕𝗓𝗏𝗘𝗫, who worked on SushiSwap, was also an angel investor, and you have Ledger and some other players as well. I don't know who 𝗕𝗚𝗟𝗘𝗫 is, but it's certainly a funny name to call yourself as a VC. But it was a heavily backed project, and what they did is they rewarded people that used the platform early. So anyone that listed their NFTs to the site, traded NFTs, were distributed an airdrop in 3 phases. So the people that used the platform the most during the bear market and then leading up into the snapshot, they were obviously rewarded the most Blur tokens in the end. And then people that just maybe listed an NFT or 2 were got like a 3rd tier airdrop, which was a smaller amount, but could still equate to like $500, $1,000, $2,000. So we could see here from the total airdropped Blur supply that they gave out 360 million Blur tokens. Now, at the current value, that's around $320 million worth of tokens. That's a pretty damn big airdrop, of which 90% of tokens were actually claimed. Now, out of the total amount of claimees, 64.8 recipients sold those tokens. So 56,000 people sold the Blur airdrop, and that put a lot of pressure onto the market, at least from a Blur token perspective, because a lot of people were actively dumping. And that also resulted in a huge decline in the Blur token price. I think we can see, it listed at like $5 on exchanges and then dumped all the way down to 60 cents before recovering to 90 cents. So this often happens with airdrops. When they first launch, they dump, and that does create some opportunities. And I have a plan for taking advantage of this, and it's pretty in line with what happened with Optimism and Aptos. So if you look at Optimism and Aptos, look at their launches. So OP, they were also one that had a huge airdrop, launched, token dumps, a lot of supply comes onto the market, then also that has a short-term bounce, consolidation, another bounce, and then a massive consolidation pattern before eventually it exploded. Aptos, basically the exact same, launched extremely high, had a massive dip, bounce, consolidation for a while, another bounce, and then absolutely exploded. So it's very similar in terms of the general pattern, where you get a huge dump, a short-term bounce, then consolidation, then your massive bounce as well. And this basically is the same across the board for most major airdrops that launch that are good projects. Now, of course, you can't apply this logic to an airdrop that's a shit project. If it's a crap project, then there'll be no reason for that final bounce. If it's a good project, there can be a reason for that final bounce. And I believe Blur is a decent project. So one of my strategies for Blur is to wait for consolidation. So clearly, we've had the dump. Now we're getting that short-term bounce like we identified on Optimism here. Aptos' bounce was slightly bigger here before consolidation. And Blur's one that I'll accumulate after its consolidation phase. Whether that takes us to 30, 40, 50 cents, maybe we consolidate back down to 90 cents after pumping a bit more. I don't know. All I know is that I'm waiting for an extended period of at least 3 to 4 months of sideways price action before I'm comfortable of going, okay, the majority of the supply that wanted to be shaken out is now shaken out, and I can get into the Blur token. So that's a token that, as the thumbnail of the video says, I am going to be buying, but I'm being patient and waiting for consolidation there as well. Now, the Blur airdrop really highlighted something that I alluded to earlier, and that's the fact that, we're in the middle of a bear market right now. And people are getting 5-figure airdrops. Some people got 6-figure airdrops. Some people got $1 million from this airdrop, which is unbelievable. Now, of course, you need to be a whale to get the $1 million, but there were genuine people that got 10 to 20,000 that only maybe put a few thousand in or just traded some NFTs. And Ara did a tweet here. He said, "Look, it's in the middle of the bear market. I'm getting a 5-figure airdrop, but there are still people who don't believe what's coming in the next bull market." And what I would take out of this thread or this tweet is, airdrops are going to be massive in the bull run. So if you can position yourself in the best airdrops now and start to work towards getting your hands on some of the more enticing bear market launches, in the bull run, the valuations there could be astronomical. And this is why I do so many tweets on airdrops. Some people give me flack for, Miles, you're doing engagement farmy airdrop type tweets. And I totally get that criticism, but let's be honest with each other. There is opportunities that don't really take much of an investment, at least from a financial perspective. They take a time investment, but if I'm going to give an opportunity to my community, why wouldn't I give something that could potentially result in 5-6 figure gains for minimal effort? Like, I want to help my community make money. I want to help create one of the most profitable communities in crypto. One of the ways to do that is by giving out new opportunities that have minimal risk. And I believe airdrops are in this category where you kind of, you got to spend time, and sometimes it can be a little grueling, and sometimes it can be a little annoying. But a tiny bit of annoyance can result in a 5-figure bear market airdrop, which in a bull market would be 6 figures plus. Now, of course, we don't want to get our expectations too high and expect to be airdrop millionaires, because I've received many airdrops which are just $100, $200, $500, $1,000, but it's still decent money to be receiving, relatively passively. So there's 2 I'm looking at the moment. Now, there are a few more which I'll probably do a full video on tomorrow, and maybe as well a thread to accompany that video. So keep your eye out for that. Of course, turn on post notifications if you haven't already. So there are a few ones that I've got my eye on, but there's 2 I want to talk about today, which actually got confirmation from either the team or the team within the Discords. And the first one was Lens Protocol. So Lens said excited face airdrop incoming, which alluded to their airdrop coming. This is one I put in my thread a couple months ago, but now it looks like they've actually confirmed that as a protocol. The strategy for getting involved with Lens as well, if you don't know what it is, it's a decentralized social graph, so essentially a decentralized social network, is relatively easy. All you have to do is get a Lens profile, and Olympio Crypto did a great thread on this, and then complete the Lens quests to get a reward. So basically, you want to get a Lens handle, maybe pick one up on OpenSea. After you do that, complete some of the Lens quests. So they launched a quest series 2 weeks ago on 𝗕𝗢𝗘_XYZ. There's also many dApps in the ecosystem which you can use. So it's essentially complete the quest, the step-by-step tutorials, claim your rewards, and then also make sure to I'm just reading this here to 22. Don't miss out. Yeah, claim your rewards, and then make sure to interact with a lot of the dApps in the ecosystem. So that is one thing. That is one airdrop that I'm looking forward to, that I think could be a decent opportunity. And the other one's actually Optimism. Now, this is a weird one because people have been very vocal about the fact that Optimism's like, it's gone, the opportunity's over, like you've missed it. But I don't necessarily think that's the case. And here's the reason why I don't think it's the case. If we look at the Discord, Bobby, one of the, I think he's a head engineer, or at least like a head community manager of Optimism, said quests hang tight. And then also, if you validate this with the Optimism token allocations, you can see that there's still 19% of the token supply allocated towards airdrops. So if you look at how they allocate tokens in general, they have a 25% ecosystem fund, they have 20% for public goods funding, but 90% of this is for user airdrops, of which only 5% have actually been given out. So the second airdrop was like 0.27% that was given out on the 9th of Feb. The first airdrop was in May, which was 5%. But this isn't a huge amount. This is just 5.27% of the total user airdrop supply that's been given out. But there's still 13% to come, and that's $590 million. 590 million OP tokens, which equates to over $1 billion. It's like $1.5 billion worth of tokens pending. Now, of course, by the time the third airdrop takes place, the token could be worth a lot less. It also could be worth a lot more. But I mean, needless to say, there's potentially $1 billion airdrop opportunity here for Optimism. So I wouldn't be fading using the Optimism ecosystem, even if it's just with like a tiny bit of capital. If you haven't used it already, just play around with it, use it, get on some of the dApps, get involved, because there's still a lot of tokens to be given out. And I have no doubt that we'll be getting something. Now, how much you'll be getting, I don't know. Who knows if they decide to continue with initiatives over like a 10-year period. So they do like tiny airdrops until then, or who knows if they just do one big one just to flush out some of the supply. We don't know what their strategy is going to be, but Olympio did a good thread if you want to position yourself for that, which essentially involves starting to get involved with governance, which means like voting on Optimism, which essentially gives you network participation over how the network operates. You also get gas rebates for OP governance users, getting involved with the airdrop claiming on the Optimism network, of course, using some of the dApps on the network as well, swapping, bridging, all that kind of stuff. I think that can put you in a good position to get an airdrop. So Olympio did a good thread if you want to check it out. I've also covered this in the past, but that's one I wanted to mention because I think it's really good. And I just wanted to quickly highlight that if you want to do any like swapping, because you are going to need native tokens for this, you can actually go into the Optimism network on KyberSwap. And if you need to swap into any sort of token like USDC, or you need OP tokens for governance, or you need to swap, I don't know, back into stables so you can pull it out onto an exchange, then you can do it on KyberSwap, because what it'll do is it'll route that transaction through the best possible routing to give you the lowest price possible. So let's say you want to trade like Ethereum into Optimism, then it will automatically go, okay, the cheapest way to do this is we'll put 70% through Velodrome, we'll put 30% through the Beats pools via going staked ETH USDC to OP to give you your 593 OP, but at the cheapest possible rate, saving you $3 per trade. So KyberSwap is a DEX aggregator, so it'll aggregate the transaction to give you the best rates. So if you are going to get participate in this airdrop or just swap on any ecosystem for that matter, this is the place I'd go just to save yourself money. And of course, they are a show sponsor as well. So, it's really good to be partnered with projects that I really, really think, the usability offers a huge advantage over others. If you are going to use it though, make sure to protect yourself with a NordVPN. I don't want to be too much of a Nord shiller. I know it gets annoying sometimes, but like I really can't stress enough, for like $4 a month, you are protecting your entire identity on your DEX. Like MetaMask, we've seen hacks happen many times in the past. We've seen exploitation of people through their IPs. If you're going to use these decentralized exchanges, I know KyberSwap's extremely safe, but if you're going to be involved with Optimism and all these ecosystems, you need to protect yourself with a VPN. And of course, there's a link in the description to sign up. It's like $5 a month, and you could potentially save yourself thousands of dollars. So from a risk-reward perspective, my analytical brain tells me, well, $5 for the potential saving of thousands of dollars through hacks is very, very, very worthwhile. So there's a link in the description to that. And of course, KyberSwap. What I want to do now is get into some questions. I've deliberately left a bit of spare time at the end of this show to let this be community driven, because there's a lot that I think we could talk about. Because there's a lot that's going on at the moment. So I want to let you guys lead the conversation. If there's anything you want to know, ask it now in the comments and I'll get to it, and we'll do like a rapid fire Q&A session, and I'll give you some general market updates and thoughts and my plans, all sorts of things. Firstly, I want to say like congrats to everyone that watched the Sunday show. Some of the calls we made in there were phenomenal. I called MPX. I think if I look at MPX now, it's up a massive 40% on the day. So that was fantastic. Equal in the Fantom ecosystem, we also got like a 20% pump on the ZK projects that we called up massively. 𝗕𝗬𝗘𝗫 up massively. Even the AI stuff from the dips. I think I had, let's go into my charts here and see the levels that we outlined on like FET and Ocean. Where we got here on the 4-hourly. Yeah, the levels we got on FET and Ocean bounced perfectly. You see we bounced from the 42 zone all the way to the 47 zone. Approaching resistance now, but that's still strong. Of course, AI, although it's losing a bit of momentum, it's still relatively strong. I think Ocean as well, we got some decent entries on. So yeah, just want to say generally, congrats to everyone that watched that Sunday show. Like, we've been paid off for our reward for effort here, hitting a lot of these dips nicely. VRA best altcoin performer in 2023. Could be a strong performer Q1, Q2. The only issue I see with altcoins in general is, heading into that Q3, Q4 period, do we see deflation kick into the market in terms of equities? And then off the back of that, do we see altcoins holding up in that environment? It's going to be tricky. Let's see what happens. I'm not worrying about it yet. All I'm really doing is making sure that I am positioned with enough cash that, okay, if this market comes back down and Bitcoin does see the negative effects of depreciation, that I have enough stable coins to take advantage of dips in that period. Because that could potentially be the best dip buying period, that Q3, Q4 period. That's why I'm not really going crazy into like long-term alt holdings now. You guys know I'm playing the narrative game now. I'm playing the trading game, the narrative game, the rotation game. We're making a shit ton of profit in the process, and then we're putting those profits aside into an account where we're going to use that account for long-term accumulation. That's my strategy. Everyone's different. Some people prefer to just buy and hold forever. Some people prefer to chop in and out. I'm somewhere in the middle. I've got a long-term portfolio where I make sure to DCA like some of the safer assets, Bitcoin, Ethereum, MATIC. And then I also have a shorter-term portfolio where I narrative trade and then use that to replenish my long-term stuff, which I accumulate throughout periods of bearish consolidation, which we're not in now. We're in a bullish, expansive phase. Someone said thoughts on Rune. Rune's an interesting one. Let me just get the chart up and I'll try and do some charting quickly. Rune's an interesting one because there's a lot of competition in the cross-chain space. You have layer 0 products starting to launch and their iterations look like they could revolutionize cross-chain interoperability. But if we look at first mover advantage, Rune is one that's very established in the cross-chain space. And it could definitely find a niche for itself. Now, I don't necessarily know if it's the long-term solution to the problem it's trying to solve, but I think it could be a solution that, I mean, the thing with Rune is it certainly performs better in a bull run, like any project, but Rune specifically due to its reflexive nature. And what I mean by reflexive nature is in a bull run when liquidity is coming in and people are depositing into the Omni pool, you need Rune to pair with Bitcoin and Ethereum. So there's a higher demand for Rune tokens for that reason, because you need a liquidity balance in the pool. Whereas when liquidity flushes out of the system, so when we get bearish phases in the market, Rune actually underperforms. And that's one of the reasons why Rune dumped a lot harder than other projects. And we can see this because, and I even highlighted the breakout here to break down to the downside. Sorry, Rune dumped 70% since then because liquidity came out. And when liquidity comes out, then people sell their Rune because you no longer need Rune to pair with the assets that are being pulled out of the pools. So Rune is much better in a bull market. And for that reason, it's not a token I really hold long term, but it is a token that I will 100% trade when I have confirmation of like, okay, this is time to buy for like a 2-year hold. For next cycle, bang, I buy some Rune. And you could probably make the argument to DCA into it a little bit, but it's just risky because it does expose itself to downside more than other coins. Fantom's actually similar in terms of the downside argument, but Fantom's different because it has a major catalyst now. It actually has 2 major catalysts for why it's running, and I'll get the chart up now. The first catalyst being FVM. So that is the major network upgrade that's happening to the virtual machine. I'm actually getting Michael Kong, the CEO of Fantom, on the show next week to discuss that upgrade with you guys. So that'll be a fantastic show. But of course, that upgrade is what the market is looking forward to. Andre's been tweeting a lot about it. Andre's back. We're seeing a lot of really, really positive test results coming out from the foundation about how it can offer an 8x improvement on the EVM. So I'm looking forward to that. And then the second narrative that's driving Fantom is FUSD. So with a lot of the stablecoin regs coming out now, like the BUSD regs through Paxos, and a lot of the rumored USDC circle regulations that could potentially name more stablecoin securities, a lot of people are saying, well, the need for a decentralized stablecoin is now stronger than ever. What potential ecosystems can offer those products? Well, the obvious answer is Aave, Curve, and Frax. That's one I talked about a couple of days ago. And they've also been strong performers, especially Frax today, which has absolutely exploded. So this is one that I love. This was the entry, guys, by the way. This is actually an entry that I took as well. Right in here at that support. I mean, how strong has this support been for Frax? Test time and time again. Enter and then bang, push the upside. Basically played out perfectly. The whole Frax trade, but that's also running off the back of this stablecoin narrative. And Fantom's no different. Fantom's running back on the back of the stablecoin narrative because they have their stablecoin V2 launching, FUSD. And FUSD is going to be, a massive improvement on the original stable, and that could potentially be another catalyst for the eco. The only problem with Fantom from a TA perspective, as you've probably noticed, we are approaching resistance. We actually rejected off this key zone. Sorry, I'm getting my nose is itchy. We're getting rejected off this key zone at the 57-cent mark. Could spell a short-term pullback for Fantom. I think it maybe needs a bit of time to reload and prep for that next leg up if you expect that next leg up. Of course, Fantom is trading in tandem with Bitcoin and ETH as well. It's not an altcoin that's going to run in its own right. However, it is an altcoin that runs harder in its own right. What I mean by this is it pumped 33% from the lows 2 days ago. 33 damn percent. Now let's look at Ethereum, for example. Ethereum pumped 12%, or from the very, very lows, like 15%, right? So Fantom doubled Ethereum's output. Even Bitcoin, which led this pump, Fantom actually outperformed. Bitcoin pumped 15% during that same time period. So Fantom is doubling a lot of the market's performance. And the reason for this is because it has those strong catalysts of FVM, FUSD, and also a lot of renewed hype and interest in the eco. And that's why MPX was such a good trade for us from that Sunday show, because we were getting off the back of the Perp DEX narrative hype, as well as the Fantom hype. And those two narratives together can create explosive moves. So we're really, really spot on with the MPX thing for that reason. And it was all just narrative identification. It doesn't take a genius to make money in this market. What it does take, though, is dedication and conviction to be able to back yourself in a trade. It's something I struggle with at times as well. There's plenty of calls I've made that I haven't had enough conviction in to really ape into, and I've experienced FOMO off the back of that. But with something like an MPX and these other narratives as well, it's strong narrative identification and then conviction to enter that trade, as well as the diligence to be able to spot, keep your ear to the ground, and identify new narratives. Now there are a few I'm looking at now. I think the decentralized gambling narrative is going to be massive. Now that's pumping at the moment, but also something we talked about on the Monday Spaces and Sunday show. Now I might get more into that in the future. The reason I'm not doing it today is because a lot of them have just pumped crazily, and I just don't really want anyone FOMOing in now at these crazy extensions, considering a lot of them are definitely rug pulls. So when I identify the ones that I think maybe aren't rugs, then I'll give them to you, but like they're 1 million market caps. Nonetheless, if you're a real degen, look into the decentralized gambling stuff. I think that's massive. And obviously ZK and LSD is still kind of the driving force behind the altcoin market right now. So it's really a narratives game, and it's our job to identify them and trade off the back of that. So yeah, Kim said, love your show. Really appreciate it. Thoughts on Super Farm? It's called SuperVerse now. I'm getting Elio on my spaces next Monday to talk about SuperVerse, because I think a lot of people think it's dead, and I completely get why, because it hasn't performed well price-wise, and imposters have dropped a lot and their floor price dropped. But honestly, this is one I could see happening. This is one where I could see a revival happening, just because I like Elio. I think he's super smart. There's a super strong team behind this project, and yeah, if the gaming run is inevitable, day by day we get closer and closer to those AAA titles that we want, and eventually we're going to get them, and the beneficiaries are going to be the projects that were positioning themselves during the bear market, building new products, and that's exactly what SuperVerse has been doing. So it's on my gaming radar. It's probably not as high up for me as some of the other projects like PYR. I'm a huge fan of. We obviously got our entries. I did a tweet about PYR. I think what was it, $2.30? So we're already well positioned in PYR. You've got 𝗕𝗚𝗧𝗏 and 𝗥𝗢𝗟𝗘𝗫 as well. Hustle's obviously the expert on this stuff, though. Someone said, what about Vela? Vela's another one we called on Sunday. Sorry for shilling Sunday so much. It's just like, I don't know. If you're not there, you got to be there. It's an awesome time. I basically stream 4 hours. We research coins. We talk about narratives. It's a lot of fun. I answer questions, kind of like this, but just for like 4 hours, which is a long time. But yeah, Vela was another one that we identified. This is basically a perpetual DEX, so it's running off the back of the GMX hype, but the UI looks better than GMX to me, and it's got a very strong and well-positioned Discord and Telegram community, which actually has more users than GMX. Now, I think it's pretty overextended. I found this at like $2. It's now $6, so it has overextended quite a lot. If we can get a pullback into this key zone at $5, I'm more of an interested buyer than at $6. So basically where we talked about it on Sunday would be a much better place to buy. But Vela is one I've got my eye on, because if it starts taking market share of GMX, then the market cap at 50 million is definitely unders. If it can gain market share. So we're gonna need to see how it launches and how things start to play out for it to really, really work. Yeah, I agree. It's super smooth, sexy UI. Definitely room to grow. The only thing is, we want to see if those user numbers, and I'm sure a lot of those users were just there to farm the airdrop. I want to see if those user numbers, and I also gave you guys the airdrop on my Twitter. I want to see if those user numbers convert into real revenue, because sometimes they don't. And that's what needs to happen for Vela to not only justify, but exceed its current valuation. It can definitely happen, but let's see how the launch goes. There can also be a sell-off post-launch. Oftentimes it happens when, a product launches, gets a lot of hype behind it, rallies into the launch, crashes on launch, and then bang, the actual effect of that launch isn't priced in. Look at GNS, for example. So GNS, Games Network. Remember the Arbitrum hype? Remember kind of people were saying it was buy the rumor, sell the news. I even think I said that at some point, that it could be a buy the rumor, sell the news event. And that's because generally, like, we do see this phenomena where the token pumps into a major product launch, and then we see a dump. And that's actually what happened with GNS. We saw the market pump, and then we saw GNS dump. So the buy the rumor, sell the news thing was right to an extent, but very quickly, very, very quickly, the trading volume on Arbitrum started to explode, And the market just realized, it woke up to the fact that shit, this is real. Like, this has improved our revenue so much that this token just has to pump now. And GNS then went on that crazy run from like $3 to $7. So although, and it's $8 now, it's absolutely nuts. So although, we did have a small sell-off. I think it was here at the start of November, this dip, somewhere around here, like post FTX. I can't remember exactly when, but pre-Arbitrum, we did see a sell-off. We saw multiple. We saw one here, then we saw another here, and then it launched, really performed well, and then exploded because the metrics had to balance out with the market's expectations. That could happen for Vela. So I think with Vela, we're in this period where we've just seen this pump, and it looks very hot right now, but I'm just not buying, because what I want to see is the consolidation or the sell-off / consolidation from the launch. And then hopefully, if it succeeds, there's that next major leg up, which is the leg where the market has its data and it's acting on that data. And I prefer to trade at that point than ape in now. But of course, Sunday was that good entry. If you did get in, congrats to everyone that did. Make sure to smash that like, if you're still watching the show. Also, remember quickly, and I'll answer a couple more questions at the end. You only have, I think, 14 days to get in on this Rolex giveaway. We keep checking every day, but no one's actually winning this thing. Like, Rand keeps revealing at every show a winner, but then the winner never emails, because to claim, you need to email the Banter giveaways email and claim your Rolex. So either people just aren't watching the shows, or we're just picking like accounts that aren't active, but it still actually isn't given away yet, and we're going to keep drawing the winner every single day until it's actually given away. So we still have the Bit Get and Bybit giveaways for another 14 days. No winner yet, so you still have a chance to sign up using one of the links in the description. And every time you open a trade, that's another entry. So 100 trades theoretically equals 100 entries. 50 trades equals 50 entries. However much you trade is however many entries you're going to get. But at the very least, if you don't have an account, there's still time to get your hands on a $25,000 sub or a $15,000 black sub. We got the blue and gold, and then the black one still in the offices in Cape Town, actually, just sitting there waiting to be claimed. And someone's calling me a liar. It's not a lie at all. Like, every single day you can watch around show, they try and give it away, and then people aren't winning. So yeah, there's links in the description to sign up. All you need to do is sign up, make sure you're in the Discord, and open a trade to get an entry. Pretty simple. You could potentially get your hands on a Rolex, of course. Bybit also has that $30,000 deposit bonus, and BitGet has an $8,000 deposit bonus as well. So huge bonuses there to sign up and get involved. A couple more questions now. Missed your explanation on Blur. You can watch the show again. You can rewind afterwards. My TLDR is I'm looking at Lens Protocol. I'm not fading Optimism after we got another announcement on airdrops there. So those are two plays off the back of the Blur airdrop you can take. New airdrop thread coming probably tomorrow, and then I'll probably do a video to accompany that as well. So make sure you look out for that. And then also, I think in terms of my Blur plan, I think it trades very similar to Optimism and Aptos, where we get a huge dump, consolidation, then a pump. I think Blur's still in the dump phase. And we're going to need like a month or two of consolidation before I think about getting in. So that is my explanation there. Someone said they missed the ZK protocol explanation. Nothing has really changed apart from the fact that MATIC is breaking out massively, and that's a trade you can take on the retest. So these ZK projects are still hot. Of course, if you're massively up, take profits on them. Don't be an idiot. But we've been well positioned in these for a while, and I still think they have upside, especially if Bitcoin holds. ZK can perform well. I just want to make it clear that's if Bitcoin holds. Like, if Bitcoin dumps, even ZK, which is one of the strongest narratives in the market, won't outperform. Like, it will still come down. But if the market consolidates or Bitcoin breaks out of its next 25K resistance level, then of course the strongest narratives will outperform, and ZK is one of them. So MATIC you've got right now, if you can catch this on the retest of the high, if we successfully retest on the daily, and this is the 4-hourly, but I'll go on to the daily. If we successfully retest on the daily, this is going to be like potentially, a huge upside play. So this is a great level for MATIC to hold. Super important it holds. If it holds $1.30, then yeah, like that is the best base for another leg to the upside. So keep your eye on whether MATIC can hold. That's going to be a super important level for MATIC, and it's a tradable level too. Any Fantom ecosystem plays? I talked about a couple of them on the show on Sunday. So I talked about MPX. I talked about Equal. Let me quickly get up my Fantom portfolio for you though. and just have a look at what else is in that portfolio. Here we go. So we've got Raven DEX. I think this is one that hasn't run. It's actually down 60% of the week. I think it's because their emissions are super like high. But circulating supply is relatively similar. So Raven DEX, I mean, it's kind of a weird one. This is the Cardano version. I'm talking about Rave, not this one. Talking about the other Rave token on Fantom. I entered the wrong one. Rave names, not Raven DEX. Rave names. This one, I think, they have more emissions than Raven DEX. And this one potentially has more upside if Fantom keeps running. So I'm going to replace that in a second. Tarot hasn't done much at all. Only $3 million market cap. I'm looking into that. Liquid Driver, I think, still solid governance hunting protocol. Looking into that. Equal, 4 million market cap. Still not crazy. Still not, like, obviously it's run a lot though. It's up like probably a 30x, but it's still not a terrible level. And MPX on the pullback is probably the best one out of all of these. So look, with Fantom, it's going to rely a lot on price action. If Fantom breaks out, then yeah, you're going to see the eco explode. So I'm not buying these ecosystem tokens today. I just want to make that clear. I'm only buying them in two scenarios. One, a major pullback in Fantom. And right now I'm looking at that pullback to this zone at 52 cents. And then confirmation of that zone. Of course, if it rejects, then you can come back down to 42 cents. Sorry, I just got rid of my screen. And then the other scenario that I would look at is a breakout. So consolidation and then a push to the upside could be a decent spot as well. But then you're going to have to just sell into resistance again. So there's definitely a claim to make to wait for a successful retest of the 64 cent zone and then looking for potential upside after that. That's the bullish scenario. There always is this bearish scenario as well, that Bitcoin gets rejected and Fantom rejects, makes a double top and then comes back down, and then the eco bleeds, right? So you only want to buy on either pullbacks or confirmation breakouts, because the eco coins, they're low caps, they're a lot riskier to trade than Fantom itself. So it depends what your risk tolerance is, but I would suggest maybe 15 to 20% allocation to eco versus the base token itself. Thoughts on XRP? I don't love it. I don't explicitly hate it as much as some other people, but I just don't love it because, we look at coin, like, just go into CoinGecko for a second. Look at the valuation here. XRP has a valuation of 20 billion market cap, 39 to 40 billion fully diluted. Do we really think that XRP long term will outperform MATIC, will outperform some of these other top projects, like even Ethereum? Do you think? I don't know. It's just hard to see a 40 bill valuation justifiable for XRP. It's the only reason why I'm a bit iffy on it. BNB's got a fair bit of FUD behind it at the moment, so like I see both sides of the BNB argument. Although still, I'd rather be net long than short BNB. I think that's one that it definitely. It's a big year for BNB with a lot of the regs, a lot of regulatory clarity to come out. Then you've got Cardano. I'm not a huge fan of, but yeah, these Cardano XRP coins, it's just like limited upside and like very hyped. Very, I guess you could make the argument that they're overvalued, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not in it. So yeah, I don't explicitly hate it, but I don't explicitly love it either, and it's not. I don't love it enough to hold it long term. That's for sure. Cool. I'll answer like a couple more questions. Bitcoin right now, let's just do a quick update on what's happening. It is pumping all the way to range high. And then small rejection. We almost got there just then. We literally almost got there. While I was crapping on about airdrops, we literally almost touched, like literally $100 away from touching range high. Clearly, there's a lot of sell short orders at this 25k level. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. Well, you certainly don't long now. Because longing now is longing into resistance. But let's see if it tests again. Because if it tests again, I mean, the more it tests, the higher chance we have of a breakout to the upside. So this is super key zone. Also, look, if we do have a huge rejection now, the next key zone I look at is 23.9 to 24. That's actually a decent load up zone because you get confirmation there and then a push up to range high again. Then, that's not a terrible time to long alts. So I'm looking at that. ETH's weakness, great question. Great comment, Ryan, because I completely forgot to mention this section. I completely skipped over it. I had this planned. ETH has a weakness, which is leading to a lot of the strength from some of these L2s like Optimism. And that weakness is, look at the airdrop for Blur and look at the crazy gas fees. We saw a 𝗕𝗚𝗘𝗫 fee of 135 during the airdrop for Blur. And then it went up to 242, and I even saw it as high as 300. And that means $10 gas fees for like withdrawals, but swaps were in excess of $100 for a lot of people. So Ethereum, although the merge has been very good for its tokenomics, it's broken, man. It is a broken network. And they're conducting a roadmap, which I think will be successful. I have enough conviction in the devs after a successful merge, which people liken to swapping an engine out of a rocket ship mid-flight. So it was clearly a huge technological achievement for the developers. And I'm proud of what they're able to achieve. And it made me bullish on Ethereum long term. But short term, there'll be other, especially like if we get a bull run within the next couple of years, there could be other L2s and also L1s that eat up some market share just purely off the back of Ethereum not being usable enough right now. So that's the first concern. But the benefit that comes off the back of that concern is, look at this. And by the way, Ethereum's my biggest holding, so I have a vested interest. Don't listen to me, all right? Don't listen to me at all. But Ethereum, look at this. It's had a massive reduction in the total supply because issuance reduced off the back of the merge, but also network usage has increased because we're getting these bullish swings, because we're having things like the Blur airdrop, which requires trading on Ethereum, and because we're getting altcoins pumping and people are using these dApps, Ethereum has had a lot of supply burn versus its now newly reduced issuance via the merge. So we've now seen almost 24,000 or 23,200 Ethereum actually that have been burnt, which is pretty damn crazy because if we didn't have the merge, 1.17 ETH would have hit the market. 1.17 million ETH would have hit. Sorry, I can't even speak. 1.7 million ETH would have hit the market, which is over $2 billion, right? $2 billion worth of Ethereum would have hit the market if we didn't have the merge. So the merge has been extremely bullish. ETH's now officially deflationary, but this is just kind of a sign into the future. Like if network usage continues to increase, if we had a massive bull run, this is in a bear market, by the way. This is in a damn bear market. If we had a massive bull run, ask yourself, what would happen to this ETH supply in the midst of increased usage? I mean, I don't even know if I can draw this on my screen, how far down this damn supply could go. Like, I can't even draw it, but it would just be, I don't know. It could be crazy, but let's just see how this pans out. And I said it's a blessing and a curse because it's a blessing for ETH long term because of this reduced supply, but it's also a blessing for a lot of other alts, like these L2s and the zk narrative, which we talk so much about, because of the crazy gas fees. The gas fees are still crazy, and the merge didn't fix that yet. Now they're on their roadmap, they're on their path to fixing it. The Ethereum network, we've got the Shanghai upgrade end of Q1. It's probably a catalyst for LSDs, liquid staking derivatives. We have 2 more upgrades at the end of the year. And I think next year we're heading into the next phase 3 of Ethereum roadmap. In fact, if I can just show you this again, I've shown this a couple times, but I'll show you again. ETH roadmap. If I can find this. Here we go. They have updated this slightly since I tweeted, but this gives you a rough idea. In fact, I'm going to Google ETH roadmap Vitalik on Google and give you the most latest up-to-date roadmap, which is this. Here we go. So the merge, then the surge. The surge is the next event that's happening. Then you've got the scourge, the scourge, then the verge, then the purge, then the splurge. So this is the current roadmaps we have outlined for the next few years. I think this will probably take a decade to complete, but we're currently in this second phase now, where we are doing EIP 4844 into rollups. That's the next step. zk-EVMs as well are currently being developed. And then once that is done, they can get to a goal of 100,000 TPS. I don't think that they'll get there straight away without proper rollup implementation. Of course, that'd just be crazy. And then you have more upgrades coming over time. And I'm not a tech head. I'm not necessarily a dev, but I mean, all of these are equally as important to achieving Ethereum's final goal of ultimate scalability. AR, let's chart AR. Because AR is one I'm like long term. I'm not bullish. Long term. I am bullish on tokens, but what I mean by that is long term. I'm not comfortable holding a lot of tokens. But AR is one that I am comfortable holding. And we did bounce off our level at 9.7. We actually just missed and then we bounced. And AR is looking pretty damn bullish. Yeah. And then also we bounced off our mid-range level. So AR, crazy how like accurately, by the way, these levels have played out. Like I've even surprised myself recently. Like it's been nuts. And I think that's just because we've played the trend. It's been bullish. So we've had levels that have been in line with that trend. And, if you just trade the trend, it's very hard to lose. And same in a bear market. If you trade that trend the other way, it's hard to lose. But for AR, you've got resistance now coming in at the $17 to $18 level, which is quite far away actually. So there's not much in the way of a sustained move to the upside here. So maybe AR is one that can pump. Render's been pumping recently. So AI pumped, right? And then computing power like Render started pumping. Now what's next in that rotation? Could it be storage and indexing protocols? It may very well be. So maybe Filecoin and AR get a bit of a catch a bid because AR hasn't really pumped much. Off the bottom, what's it pumped? 98%. I mean, that's quite a lot. That is quite a lot, admittedly. But since this breakout, it hasn't really pumped much. 21%. Ethereum's, I think, 15. Fantom was 30. So it's in that realm, right? But it's still, decently a way off its pre-merge pump, which was, another 50% away. So AR definitely got my eye on it. This could be an interesting play. Of course, the best entry for this was at the levels that we pre-specified at $10. But long term, this is one I'm pretty comfortable holding. Has everyone already forgotten the regulatory issues? No, this year is going to be full of regulatory headwinds. But I think it's important to realize that in the midst of regulation, new trends are born. And I think it was a huge reminder to people that the reason we're in crypto is because of the decentralization aspect. And decentralization is the exact reason why crypto was invented and is the exact way that you can sidestep and avoid a lot of these regulatory issues. Now, fiat on-ramps are obviously going to be controlled by the governments. That's huge for crypto adoption. But they can't stop Bitcoin. They can't stop Ethereum. They can't stop these immutable decentralized networks. So although it was bearish in the short term and it will continue to cause panic at times, long term, I think it can be a net positive for the space. And it was definitely an excuse for people to flip bearish. And it was definitely an excuse for a sell-off. And I think this is a good lesson. The market always finds an excuse for price to move how it wants to move. And price action will show you where it wants to go. But oftentimes news is the indicator or the lagging indicator, for why a move takes place. And the whole regulatory thing gave bears a reason to be euphoric. And then CPI came out and some of the, at least short-term headwinds were alleviated. And then that gave people a reason to be bullish again. So you can't trade too much. You can't get chopped up too much because of this news, because the market wants a reason to manipulate you and wreck you. Like the market, that's what these whales do. They want to wreck people. That's why it wouldn't be surprising if we got a huge pump. Because let's say we went to 28K, right? Let's just do a thought experiment here. I mean, 28. So you guys are watching this show, right? We have around 1,300 people watching right now. If we go to 28K, what happens to the retail that's not in the market? I mean, they flood in. I could just imagine this show having 5,000 live viewers right now. The people that were out of the market for the last year and haven't been interested, like a lot of you have been, they're going to start coming back in and flooding back in. And a lot of those retail, they're going to get trapped because a lot of people are going to start saying, if we push up to 27, 28, we're in a new bull run, we're going to 50K again. We're in a new bull run, we're going to all-time highs. And then that starts to play out and people start to get really bullish and retail pours in, and then bang, they manipulate you and the price tanks because they want those people to get sucked into the market so they can use them as exit liquidity. And this could happen, which is why, you have to be very careful not believing things, taking things at face value. And it's the exact same thing with the reg news. And it can also be the same with huge pumps. FOMO will be crazy, as you said, John. Like, it will literally cause massive, massive, massive FOMO if that happens. And I'm just warning you guys now to not fall into that trap. You should be taking damn profits at 28K. And to be honest, if you're in huge gains right now from some of your trades from 21K, then yeah, take profits on some of them. Take half or take, a third. I don't know, take something. Or at least have a stop set in place for if we do break key levels. And you can look at my levels right now, but you can also make your own. And if we do break some key levels, then you can look to de-risk a little bit. And of course, we also have our range levels as well. So yeah, that's the thing as well, Phil. Like, even just going to 28, like, the opportunities in alts is mind-blowing. Like, there's 100 X's on the table, there's 50 X's on the table, there's all sorts of X's on the table if you go there. Now, I don't necessarily know if we will. I don't need to predict this either because I have my levels and I know the plan. And I can very quickly be adaptive and de-risk if things start to look bad. So you just have to have your eye on the technicals here and pay attention and stay in tune, because this right now is a trader's market and this is a narrative game. This isn't a long-term, let's just buy and hodl game right now. Now, for some people it might be, but for me it isn't. And I think it's a crazy time. So this is really, really, really a game of staying adaptive. Adaptivity is your number one skill right now that you need to master, because if you get too caught up in one thought process or mindset, it's very easy to get boxed in. And we've seen that happen to Capo. I mean, fair play to the guy. He called 40 down to 15, but the problem is he didn't see this cup and handle forming. So massive cup and handle and then a breakout. He ignored that. Then he ignored what was clearly very bullish price action of a consolidation, then breakout, and then also ignored the fact that we held at key levels. This is all higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. You can't call that a bull trap because I mean, he called it a bull trap at like 18,000 or 19,000. You can't call that a bull trap that early. You have to wait to see how price action reacts first. You can call it a bull trap a bit later. Sure, you can call it a bull trap maybe at 25. If price action is suggesting that we're going to come back down, which by the way, right now it isn't, until we get a top formation. That's not how I'm trading. Yeah, he just called it way too early. And the problem with that is he was kind of stuck in that we've been going down for so long and I've been right for so long that, I must be right again. I've been right the last 5 times. I've got to be right again. And it's wrong. He wasn't adaptive. He didn't have adaptivity. The best traders, and I think some of the best traders that I've seen are like trader like XO and Crypto Cred on Twitter. Those traders, Trader XO, for example, he's generally bearish. He's generally bearish this year. But when he saw major breakouts, he was very quick to take advantage to flip long. So you can be bearish and long. Like, you can be bullish and short. It's all about adaptivity. And if you have adaptivity, you'll be a much better trader than someone that's very stagnant. Now, sometimes conviction is important. Sometimes having a thesis and sticking to a plan is important, as long as the fundamentals don't change. When I say adaptivity, I don't mean changing your thesis every 5 minutes. I mean taking new information into account and altering your original thesis, or validating or confirming your original thesis. So if you have a pretense that we're going into the next bull run because of this happening to rate hikes, like you think there's going to be, you think rate hikes are going to stop. If rate hikes don't stop and that goes against your original theory, then your original theory needs to change. It needs to adapt based on the new information. And technicals are a form of new information. If you get a breakout of a key level and then confirmation, and then you also see that in tandem with breakouts in other sectors, then maybe that's a sign that you have to switch your thesis, that you have to adjust your original thesis. And Carl does this very well. Carl does this as well. Carl was, he's freaking bearish, Carl, for a long time. And he's been reasonably bullish lately, to be completely honest. Like, he's been reasonably bullish if you watch his shows. And that's because he's very adaptive. So, yeah, this is the time to be in. Okay, look, I don't like hearing stuff like this. I don't think prices will ever come down again. They will come. Trust me, they'll come down again. Trust me, they'll come down again. But while the music's playing, we dance. While the music's playing, we dance. And when the music stops, then we stop dancing. That's for sure. But the music's playing now, so let's dance. Let's have fun. Let's enjoy the party. And then at some point, prices will come back down again. But shorting this is a bit of a dangerous game. I think the 25k short's okay, actually. It's a bit of a scalp short. I don't actually mind it. But in terms of serious, building a large short position or an oversized short position, I mean, that's a pretty dangerous game in a bullish trend. And that's kind of why I said, on the daily chart, as long as we're above the 200 MA, generally, unless it's a very short-term trade, but generally I'm more interested in longing than shorting. That is generally your indicator for bullish price action. I mean, it's just so clear time and time again. Like, look at this. Successful retest of the 200 MA, huge breakout, retest, huge breakout. We've had a couple instances of fake outs, but then we've also seen the opposite be true for breakdowns and then massive downside, breakdowns, massive downside, breakdowns, huge legs of downside. And then now we're in a scenario where we've had a breakout, which is an indicator of upside. So if you trade those that 200 MA on the daily, you've actually generally done quite well. Generally, you've caught the market trend. And even back down here in 2020, the final retest of the 200 MA was the indicator that we were getting another bull run. That was that indicator. But sure, it's not always foolproof, because then you do miss out on that 40% move down before the confirmation. So it's not a foolproof indicator, but it is just a reasonable indicator of where momentum lies. And since we're momentum traders, you have to work out where momentum is. And I'm gonna head off now because I've got to check my positions. I gotta manage my portfolio. There's a lot happening in the market right now, so I got to get up to speed. I woke up early this morning for this show to plan for you guys, but I have to get up to speed again because it seems like things are changing so quick. Remember, there's links in the description to OKX if you want that $10,000 mystery box. So if you sign up for an account, deposit $50, you can win up to $10,000. Of course, we also have the BitGet and the Bybit Rolex giveaways. You've got 14 more days to win a Rolex. So there's links in the description to that. And if you do want to swap anything on a DEX, especially if you're getting involved with this airdrop hunting stuff, KyberSwap is a very logical place to trade. There's a link to that. So everything you could need in the description. Thank you guys for chilling with me today. It's been a lot of fun. I'm going to be live tomorrow to give you an update on all this stuff. And I'm also going to do some more research into sectors like the decentralized gambling space. I want to take a look at gaming because that's stagnated actually in the midst of this pump. And I think that's an interesting discussion as well. But until the next one, I will see you later. I'm trying to find these banners because my producer Power's not here. So I can't even find I'm so bad at navigating StreamYard. I can't even find the outro banners to play. Where are they? I don't even know. So I might just need to end the show. Oh no, I got it. All right, I'm going to see you guys in the next one. See you later. Peace out, guys.